to share a few tips with you. We went camping a few weeks ago. Hopefully you go back and watch that video. We had a lot of fun. But I wanted to share a few tips with you if you get to go camping with your family. A couple of coworkers of mine, once I was talking about our camping trip, they said, hey, next time you go, you need to try this, you need to try that. And I thought, man, those are really good tips. I need to share those with people. Because if you're like me, we want to go camping, but we only get to go maybe a couple of times a year, and we don't want to have to spend a lot of money on a lot of equipment and a lot of things. So camping should be cheap, easy, fun. It shouldn't be a hassle. You should want to go camping. You should be able to enjoy it. So a few quick tips that I want to share with you. We went in a tent, and you always want a barrier under your tent. I don't care if your tent has a good floor, but if you're sleeping on the floor of your tent, you want a barrier. Tarps are the way to go. Get you a tarp. Our tent, we've got a whole family. We've got a family tent. I actually got 2 of these tarps and laid under the tent. It creates a moisture barrier. It actually creates another layer. Anytime you can create extra layers between you and the ground, it's going to create as an insulation, and the floor of the tent won't get as cold at nighttime. So tarps are the way to go. They're very inexpensive. They're very cheap. You can go to somewhere like Walmart. If you got a Harbor Freight nearby, you can get tarps almost free at Harbor Freight. So that's just one quick tip. Use tarps. You could also use one as a rain fly, or tie it up over the top of the where you're eating, your picnic table or something like that. So always have tarps nearby. You can do anything with a tarp. You could actually use it as a duffel bag if you needed to carry stuff in and out. So also, I like air mattresses because sleeping on the ground, I used to love it, but now I wake up pretty sore. I guess I'm getting old. I don't like to rough it as much as I used to. That's just me. But anyway, air mattresses can get very expensive, and if you're like our family, we've had terrible luck with air mattresses. You buy an air mattress, you use it a couple times, and then it won't hold air anymore. You try to patch them, it's still, just air mattresses, to me, they're a headache. So a coworker of mine told me that they just go buy some pool floats. Those cheap little plastic pool floats, you air them up, they're about that thick. You put your sleeping bag on top of them, and you've got 2 or 3 inches of air as a pool float, and that's the way you're not going to be laying on bumpy ground. If there's any kind of tree roots or anything under your tent that you didn't know about, you won't feel it. That creates enough space to where it actually adds a lot of comfort. Pool floats. I don't know why I didn't think about that. They're only a couple bucks, and it doesn't matter if you ruin them. You're only out a couple bucks, but a pool float, to me, usually will last 10 times longer than a big expensive air mattress, and they're a whole lot easier to transport and throw in your vehicle and stuff like that. So I just thought that was a wonderful tip. Who'd have thought of pool float? Also, if you have a cooler, always recommend 2 coolers, one for your drinks and one for your food. You're going to be opening your drink cooler a whole lot more often, so it's gonna warm up quicker. So separate those items out. Also, a friend of mine from church told me this quick tip. If you put your cooler in a freezer, we have a deep freeze, so I put my cooler in the deep freeze and let it cool down for a couple of hours before we went camping. That way, if this cooler is already at ice temperature, it's not going to melt the ice or the drinks inside as quickly. Also, if you want to freeze a couple of water bottles or a milk jug full of water and freeze that and put inside your cooler, frozen water bottles and stuff, that will last longer inside the cooler than bags of ice. Everybody knows about the ice melting and you have to drain the water out. Well, if you put some frozen water bottles in there, they act as blocks of ice, and then once they thaw out, hey, you got a bottle of water. So that's another thing to think about. We don't have expensive coolers. We don't have those nice Yetis or Arctic coolers. We've just got these cheap coolers, so cool them down first. They'll last a whole lot longer than they normally would if they were at room temperature. Also, at nighttime, it's hard to kind of see sometimes your tent stakes or your tie downs. It'd be very easy. This happened to us the last night of us camping. One of our children tripped over where one of the tent stakes were. They were walking into the tent, didn't see it. 50 cents a piece at Dollar General. Get some glow sticks, put them around your tent stakes outside, and you won't trip. Also, these are amazing if you're just going camping and you've got kids. They'll have something at night to help them as they're seeing inside their tent, or if they have to get out in the middle of the night, go use the restroom or something like that. Hang one up in the top of your tent as a night light. They're amazing, 50 cents a piece. For $1, I got 10 of these. These are little tiny glow sticks here. I thought, hey, I'll try them out. They actually worked really well. They're not nearly as thick and bright, but I was pleasantly surprised for $1 getting 10 of these. And if anything else, your kids have a nice little toy to play with when it gets really dark. Also, again, a lot of families may be watching this, and if you're out camping with kids, come up with a scavenger hunt. Have them hunt for certain items, maybe something that lives in a tree, something that come off of a tree, like an acorn or a seed. Try to identify which tree it came from. Snails, centipedes, anything like that, birds. You can try to have them identify, find something with 6 legs, find something with 8 legs, find something with no legs. Maybe you don't want to do that, but maybe you do. It actually gets the kids excited about hunting for stuff, so they're having fun, they're playing a game, and at the same time, they're learning about nature, they're learning about their surroundings, they're learning about things that maybe they would have just not even thought about, just looked over, but now they're being more detail-oriented. So that's just a quick tip of something to do with your family to get your kids kind of aware of what's out there around them when you're camping out in the woods and forest. What else have we got in here? We have a Coleman camp stove. Now, this is a cool camp stove. You open it up. It's got some heat shields. You put this in the hole, turn the gas on, and you got 2 little gas burners. This is a wonderful, wonderful piece of equipment for camping. But we're trying to talk about how to save money and do things cheap. I can't even remember where I got this. I think my dad picked this up at a yard sale over 20 years ago. And it still works perfect. He just stored it in his junk in the back of his garage, and one day I saw it and he said, yeah, if you want it, take it. So this was basically free. Many of you may have friends, family, neighbors that have camping gear. Maybe you need to borrow a tent or some camp chairs like what I'm sitting in now, camp chairs, sleeping bags, stuff like that, a cooler. You don't have to go to one of the big sporting, you don't have to go to Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop. You go in those stores, those things look awesome. When I go in there, I've got to really learn some self-control because I want to buy a lot of that cool stuff. There's some neat stuff that I really want, but I don't really need, and I will use a lot of money. So we're trying to think of doing things cheap. So get camping gear at yard sales. Borrow camping gear from friends and family. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Again, you don't want camping to be a burden. You want camping to be fun and enjoyable easy, and simple. So you can get some nice camping gear without having to go to the store and paying a lot of money for it. So I guess another tip is firewood. If you're traveling far away to go camping, you may not be allowed to bring firewood from where you live. They don't want certain beetles and bugs and stuff to be transported to other areas because of firewood. So have a plan. If you're going to have a campfire and cook on it or anything like that, if you can, if you're camping locally, gather up firewood and take it with you. Usually if you're going to go to a campground area, the firewood that's for sale around in that area is going to be very expensive. And if you're going to a popular campground, people are already going to be out in the woods gathering up any of the loose wood they can, so there may not be much to find. So plan for that. Just make a plan ahead of time if you're going to have a campfire, that you're going to have firewood and it's not going to cost you any money once you get there. Another tip would be bring some duct tape. You can always use duct tape for any kind of... Duct tape's just the universal. If you need it, you got it. I'm sure many of you watching this have thought of dozens of other tips, and that's great. That's what we want to do. We want to spur some conversation, so put it in the comments on the video. Think of some tips. We just want to share this as a community. You don't have to take my advice. Share your own advice, and let's just share this with each other. Make camping fun. Make it simple. Make it cheap. We're all about doing things that don't break the bank. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it.